Alrighty, so I'm back. It's been a little while, I know. I've been doing a lot of, trying to do a lot of self-healing, which also requires me to take a lot of time off from work. And I hate to say it, but I've been using this COVID crisis to basically use it while in quarantine. And since the company isn't really holding anybody accountable for taking time off when they don't even have the sick time or anything like that, so I kind of feel, okay, this is a chance to kind of withdraw from the rest of the world for however long it takes me, and then go from there. I think it's very important, especially for someone like myself, because right now there's so much stuff going on in the world right now, that it's enough to make anyone's head spin. I know it certainly has made mine do multiple revolutions on my shoulders. So I'm actually shooting from my phone because I was just doing a little test, and on my DSLR, I don't have a long enough pole to hold out. Even with my arm extended, it still has this extreme close-up. I'm gonna play around with it later, but whatever, and go from there. Get used to holding it. But yeah, it is. I had to get rid of a lot of people on Facebook. Not a lot of people, but a few people who were extremely poisonous, and were spreading vicious rumors around, and basically misconstruing what I was saying about my personal mental health and things like that. There were a few people who don't believe in mental illnesses and think that I'm basically just running around crying out for attention, which is not the case, because that's not the type of attention anyone wants. So I know I sure as hell don't want that. It's not the type of attention I want. So word of advice: if you have any people in your circle, whether they're friends, family, I hate to say it, but if you have people in your circle of friends, or family, that don't believe in mental illnesses, or just thinks that you're being a brat, or thinks that you're seeking attention, then it creates a very poisonous tension between you and that individual. And they're always going to minimize what you say or what you do and how you react. So I was in a little bit of a denial. I didn't want to believe that these people who claim to be friends, who claim to be there for me, actually go around spreading vicious rumors to me, about me, at work and wherever else. So last week, and I ended up staying up late and basically weeding out these people. A lot of unfair situations occurred, and it was just a great big conglomeration of bullshit that didn't sit well with me, and I identified it as, that's, it's not fair. So unfortunately, when you try to explain yourself to certain individuals, they don't want to see from your point of view, because they think that, for whatever they're thinking, but I had to cut ties. I had to sever everything to kind of feel a little bit of sanity without their judgment. So I know I shouldn't care what other people think of me, and that's actually what my therapist is helping me work with, especially at work. And it's definitely going to take a long, hopefully not that long, but it's going to take some time to rebuild and find out who I really am. What kind of people do I want in my life? What kind of, one lesson that I think I'm learning right now is the fact that I sure as hell don't want people in my life who are ignorant, and people who choose not to believe in, mental illnesses, regardless of what it is, because they're too naive or too ignorant, or they just don't want to learn about how mental illnesses affect different people from all over the world. It's not just an isolated incident or incidents. It's, a real thing. It's not something that's made up from a sci-fi movie or psychological thriller or whatever. It's a real thing. And I choose not to have these people in my life that are going to sit there and claim that I'm looking for attention, or I'm desperate for attention, or I'm being a brat, or whatever the hell they're saying, behind my back, or even to my face. Again, those are poisonous people, and it's important to stay away from people who minimize it's important for me to stay away from people who minimize my personal experiences. It's not healthy. It's very, very poisonous. It then becomes a very poisonous relationship. Not so much to the other person, because the other person clearly doesn't care. The other person doesn't give a shit. But you're the one left caring. I'm the one left caring. And it hurts like hell. And then all it does is create more poison and more psychological trauma. Depending on what you're suffering from, or what have you. So I had to cut ties with a few people. One of them basically was even calling me a child because I blocked them on social media. And they said that that's a childlike move. And I thought to myself, I said, well, I don't see it as a childlike move. I see it as you know, I no longer want you in my life. I don't want you to know if I'm living or you know, or what. I don't want you to know. You don't deserve that part anymore. You don't deserve to know me. If you can't accept me at my darkest, then I don't want you to see when I do get better, because it shows that you only there for people when the good times are rolling. And friendship isn't about that. Or at least that's my take on friendship. You know. So yeah, I've been out taking a lot of time off from work and really just trying to sit back and reflect on who I am, what I like, what I don't like, who I don't like, who's the bad guy, who's the good guy, and all that stuff. So it's definitely a learning experience, you know, especially someone who comes from PTSD and even what is closely related due to trauma. I learned from my therapist the other day that since the PTSD was left untreated for so many years, that it becomes, in my instance, it becomes borderline personality disorder. Because as what my therapist was describing to me is, you have it's safe to have some ego, a sense of self-worth, a sense of who you are. And I possess none of that, or very little. And that's pretty dangerous to have, because now I can't function in you know, like a normal human being should. And basically, even in a work setting, you know, it's almost very difficult to function in a work environment, or even out in public in some instances. So that's what we're trying to work on, is build up my ego and relearn what makes me, you know. And it's a little embarrassing to admit that, because here again, you know, I know here in America and multiple parts of the world that it's still taboo. You know, a mental illness is frowned upon, or is, you know, you're isolated because you suffer from, you know, such experiences in your life that you didn't really call upon yourself. So it's a very, very sensitive subject. And it becomes a very sensitive subject when you have someone who doesn't understand or even cares, which to me is a very dangerous person to be around, because now that person lacks sympathy and could give a rat's ass if you're suffering day in, day out. So, as I mentioned earlier before, that I had brought my DSLR with me, and actually this is the book bag to it. And I still got to figure out how to really effectively use it to get the best of my video and audio, of course. So right now I'm walking around in the cemetery, and I admit, I'm a little nervous, people seeing me, more so seeing me with a DSLR camera and holding it out like this or something, and people thinking that, okay, what is this dude doing? I feel like it's a little bit more appropriate with a phone, because a lot more people are FaceTiming or doing video chats now. But just not with a DSLR. But I gotta get in the mentality that I don't give a shit what other people see me doing with my camera. So it's all learning for me. Still a little bashful, but I think I'm coming around, and that's a good thing. I can't really ask any more from myself, and I'm certainly not going to push myself and to the point where I strain and I become so frustrated with the whole art of videography or vlogging or whatever, and just give up. Because like I said, my heart is right here. This is something I've always wanted to do before it became popular. I'm pretty sure there's other people out there that have the same, mindset. So I'm out here walking around in the cemetery. I know a lot of people, when I say that, a lot of people look at me weird, and they're like, why are you walking around in a cemetery? And it's, no, it's not what you think or whatever. It's actually very nice. I often refer to it accidentally as a park because of how well the landscapers maintain it here at Maple Grove Cemetery here in Queens. And here's a little example of what I'm talking about. As you can see, it's actually very nice. And if you go deeper where there's hills, I get easily lost. So yeah, I get easily lost, and I end up having to pull out Google Maps and trying to figure out how to get out of here. Which is actually what I had to do Wednesday when I went to work for the one time in the week. As I was on my way back home from work, and I was waiting for the phone call from my therapist, because we do the phone therapy over the phone session now because of the pandemic, and I would walk all throughout here and go from there. And actually, while I was waiting for his phone call, I veered off into a completely different path to avoid a large group. And Well, it wasn't honestly, it wasn't a large group. I'm lying. It was a family. And it seemed like they kept turning everywhere I was turning. And I didn't want them, this is going to sound silly, but I didn't want them to think that I was stalking them or following them or whatever, So I just veered down a different path, and I ended up getting lost. And you can't see anything but hills. So with what I just showed you, it's all flat over here. But as you get deeper into the cemetery, there's giant hills and walls of thick trees, and then I'm just, again, I had to pull out my phone and hop on Google Maps and navigate my ass out of here, because it was hot. It was an extremely hot day, and I just wanted to get back to a familiar area, which is where you see me walking around now, because I know I'm not going to get lost. So, yeah. Yeah, and that's basically it. So, so yeah, here I am, and going from there, and I might record a little bit more. Again, it seems like each and every single time I record a video, I get a little bit more confidence and become less camera shy. So, so let's see what happens. Oh, also, you probably also noticed I dyed my beard. Because I hate to admit it, but I got a little insecure from a few people telling me that I look 55 and assume that I'm lying, when in actuality I'm 34 years old. So so yeah, but the important thing is, though, I have to be honest with myself, and I like it. I like it, and there's still some gray there, so it's not like I'm hiding the true John or anything. It's, I guess you could say a little bit of an enhancement. And I can honestly say that this is not coming from denial. Because of the simple fact that I still feel like there's a little bit of who I really am, or who I am, with the grays in there. So, and that's that. So, I'm going to head on back home and go from there, basically. I gotta upload these videos to the computer and then go on and edit and all that stuff. So hopefully the videos come out right. Hopefully the audio comes out right. But yeah, there'll be more. I'm more than content with, I feel like, with what I'm putting out, things like that. So here I go.